if you guys would agree with this, but that the Steelers' 5 best players overall are on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm throwing in Martavis Bryant and David DeCastro. Maybe you could throw somebody else in from the defense in that equation, but do you take that much money and put it into your offense? I believe that Le'Veon Bell is a special back. I think that he does all kinds of things that mess with a defense, not least of which is not fumbling the ball, hanging on to it, making things happen out of the backfield in terms of pass catching, even lining up as a wide receiver. Remember that? I'd love to see them pour money into the offense, but, man, at some point or other, something's got to go on the other side of the ball.
Speaking of that other side of the ball, real quick, Art Rooney II's comments about the team needing to better evaluate defensive backs. Zayon, we'll start with you. What do you make of that?
Ooh, I mean, somebody had better have a good summer here, because I'm sure Art Rooney, too, is tired of pouring his money into lousy free agents, wasting draft picks on trades like they did with Brandon Boykin, and really not having any success in the draft except for Keenan Lewis, who they allowed to leave.
I still don't understand how they missed on Shamarko Thomas that badly, because they really wanted him. But more so, they went out. Something had to happen nobody knows about with Brandon Boykin, because how they wanted him and brought him in, and he virtually didn't play.
Well, Colin, he didn't show out in practice. Remember, that's
I guess. I watched the games, like I told Ron Cook. I watched the games.
He played in games. When he played in games, Boykin, that is, I thought he was actually decent as those things go in that secondary. So yeah, I'd agree with Colin's thesis that something probably had to have happened there. You know, they screwed themselves over with the Keenan Lewis situation, because then they tried to find the next Keenan Lewis when they didn't have him in Cortez Allen, and that's been a disaster. They better figure out the secondary one way or the other. Somebody better have a good summer is right.
All right, we're up against it. What we'll do is we'll take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about hockey. Penn second half, also the Dennis Weidman incident. We'll get your comments on that when we come back on the #1 Conference Sports Showdown.
What you want to end up with is now yours from the start. Isn't that the way it should be? Learn more about Clearly Better Carbine at Cochrane.com.
A mother with type 1 diabetes, with a healthy 4-year-old whose life began at risk, a perceptive doctor who caught the problem, an emergency C-section, and a month in the NICU, with a team that took such good care of mother and child, and gave her the courage to do it all again. Health for Hope is quality women's care rated in the top 2% nationally. Allegheny Health Network.
No regrets. If only she parked in a garage. If only they had the chimney cleaned. If only they had Erie Insurance. Erie is seriously good insurance that treats you fairly and goes above and beyond to make you feel like your auto or home mishap never happened. At rates that'll save you as much as the other guys. So get a quote from Erie today.
Call Eber & Associates, 412-653-0600, or go to eberinsurance.com.
Monster Jam. See world champion, Gravedigger, and for the first time ever, see Pennsylvania's own Stinger. Plus more. Kids tickets are just $12. Metro PCS presents Monster Jam, February 12th, 13th, and 14th at Console Energy Center.
All right, it's time to talk some hockey now, the #1 Conference Sports Showdown. Let's start with the Penguins, and Dejan, we'll start with you. Your second half expectations for the Penguins, of course, they ended the first half of the season for the All-Star break in a pretty good note, but what should we see here in the second half?
Well, I think you're going to see them make the playoffs, and the reason for that is that the power play has come around. Mike Sullivan's brought a lot of good things to the Penguins, both technical, spiritual, philosophical, all that stuff, but at the same time, the #1 thing was going to be the power play. That's not going to stay at around 28%, which it's been since he's arrived. That's unnatural, but having Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Phil Kessel, too, feeling productive, putting points up on the board is going to have a carryover effect to the rest of the team. Yes, though, they do need another one at least, but 2 top 4 defensemen, and they won't be easy to get.
I think Chris Letang's actually been the revelation under Mike Sullivan since he came back from injury. He's been so good for that power play, and he's actually made smarter plays. He's just looked like a much better player. I didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. I'm backing off on that stance. It's also because the star, the best player on the team, the guy that people were wondering, what is up with Sidney Crosby, has answered that question and done so emphatically. It seems what was up with him was that Mike Johnston was his coach, and things weren't working out too well. I think they're going to make the playoffs. how dangerous they are probably involves how much they do at the trade deadline.
They'll make the playoffs. I just can't believe we've gotten to the point where with Malkin, with Letang, with Crosby, with Fleury, we're at the midway point of a season, and we're haggling over if they'll make the playoffs or not. That's just, if you sit back and think about it, it really is mind-boggling considering where we were.
Does that qualify
5 years
Johnston
ago.
for one of the worst coaching jobs? Honestly, in Pittsburgh sports history.
The crazy part is they actually won. I mean, they had a winning record when he was fired, and he still was just so bad.
Right.
All right, let's move on to a league-wide topic here. Of course, we all know about the Dennis Weidman incident with the Calgary Flames. Of course, he's been suspended indefinitely by the league pending a hearing. We'll start with Colin. We'll start with you on this topic. What should happen from here? What should the league do as far as the suspension?
Well, they're in a jackpot. If you're asking my personal question, or my personal impression is, I don't think he had his wits about him because he just had his head rammed into the board. That being said, though, if he goes into a hearing and says, you know what, I didn't know what I was thinking, that sets a terrible precedent. Then any guy can say, any idiot can say, well, I didn't have my wits about me, so they got to just give him 20 games.
And he stayed in the game, too.
You're right. I think they have to give him 20 games. It would set a terrible precedent if he said, I was sort of beside myself here. I didn't know what I was thinking. I wasn't of clear mind or conscience.
One of the few well-enforced rules in hockey, and boy, there aren't many, is that high sticking. And they say that you're responsible for your own stick. The only reason I mention that is because you have to be responsible for your own actions on the rink. Colin, I agree with you. There's no way that he can't get the Tom Lysiak minimum 20-game suspension. Tom Lysiak, of course, being from the Blackhawks 20 years ago, famously tripped the linesman, automatically 20 games. Has to happen.
I've looked at the guy, and I got to disagree with the notion, and none of us know for sure that he was out of it and didn't have his faculties. I saw a guy shake it off at first, get up, smash the stick off the ice in what looked like frustration to me, and then pretty much make a beeline towards the official. So I'd say 25 games and just put it right there and send the message. But knowing the NHL, it'll be 6.
Not if they want their officials.
They are in a jackpot. It's a terrible situation for them, and you can rely on one thing with the NHL, and that's that they'll handle it poorly.
That is accurate.
All right, in the meantime, we're going to take another break. When we come back, Super Bowl predictions. Who wins, Broncos or Panthers? We'll get those answers when we come back on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. Stick around.
Go down, go down, go down, and get here. Why don't we just start here to begin with? People want simple. People want transparent. Just tell me what the price is. Let me get on my way. That's what we're doing. The price you want to end up with is now yours from the start. Isn't that the way it should be? Learn more about Clearly Better Car Buying at Cochran.com.
Slippery Rock University. Experience the difference.
I'm Jamie Bordas. Trust is important in any relationship. This is especially true when hiring a law firm. I want our clients to trust us. I want them to trust that we're being honest with them, to trust that we're going to fight for them, and that we're going to get a great result. At the end of the case, I want to be able to look them in the eye, shake their hand, and know that justice was done.
Bordas and Bordas. Fighting for justice. Official legal partner of the Pittsburgh Pirates.
What? We have to get in for an oil change before the line gets too long.
Taking care of your car shouldn't take over your life.
With Meineke, save time and schedule your appointment online. Come in now for 50% off preferred oil changes. Meineke, on with life.
The #1 Cochran Sports Showdown is brought to you by #1 Cochran. Go one better. And by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health.
All right, here we go. Last couple minutes of the show. Chris Muller, we'll start with you. Who wins Super Bowl 50, Broncos or Panthers?
I've got the Panthers in this one. I think that Denver defense, as good as they are, is going to find out that it's a lot more difficult to rattle the cage with pressure for a guy like Tom Brady, or a lot more difficult with Cam Newton than it was for a guy like Tom Brady. I think Newton's mobility, I think his size, I think his arm strength to make some contested throws is the difference. I think Carolina's favored right now by about a touchdown, and that's what I see this game, a touchdown, maybe even a 10-point game. I think they're the best team in football, and I think right now they have the best player in football.
I think it'll be something like 35-19 Carolina. I think that they're going to blow their doors off, come out real strong. Denver may score at the end. I think that Denver's defensive pressure might work against them in this game a little bit, and that they will get outfield. They'll get past Carolina's offensive line a little bit. It'll be jailbreak football, and Cam Newton will be able to just prance through that secondary and have a big day with his
A lot
legs.
of dabbing.
Yeah, I agree with Colin that Carolina is going to run off with this. I agree with you both that Carolina's offense is going to be able to move the ball against Denver's defense at least efficiently. What none of us mentioned until now is